Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another exciting edition on our program Mountain Echoes. Welcome to this very special panel discussion on the GC examination 2025. We are now 1 week into this crucial nation exercise, intellectual exercise, of course, and it is an ideal time to reflect on how things have been unfolded or how things have unfolded so far, from logistical coordination and the candidates' preparedness to exam integrity and emerging challenges. Today's conversation will offer valuable insights from key stakeholders. Our aim is to assess what has gone well, where there may be concerns, and what can still be improved as exams continues. Joining me to our distinguished panelists from education sector, including teachers, examiners, student representatives, parents, of course, and officials. Together, we will unpack the progress, address pressing issues, and share informed perspectives on the ongoing examinations GC 2025. Of course, we have Dr. Bate. Good evening and welcome to this very special edition.
Good evening, Father Ernest, and good evening, the fervent viewers of Divine Mercy Radio and Television. And good evening to my brother, Mr. Nji. Good evening to our candidates. We wish them all the best. And we started this topic last week and think we are here to do justice as usual, give a critical eye. And GMRTV, the motto is sharing the light of faith or
of
truth.
Hope. Yeah.
And if truth is what makes you have hope. And if you cannot speak the truth, then you cannot have hope. So when you tell someone that I'm going to give you something, keep to your word, that's maintaining the truth. So I think that's why we are here on this panel, to enlighten or give a bit of insight to this topic and let the viewers be informed as usual.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Bate. And Ms. Sanji, Lucas, good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Father. It's a pleasure being here tonight. Like Mr. Bate rightly said, or Dr. Bate, pardon, like he rightly said, it's a very wonderful topic. I think it should be the very first of its kind. I never discussed on this, and I've never had a series on it, which is, I think it's going to help a lot, because we have candidates, and eventually we have parents and caregivers who need a lot to understand what they have to do during a period like this. You know, every year the General Certificate of Education Exams Board have something new to the public and to the candidate. And for this year, as you already know, we are looking at the rule that states that any candidate that comes into the exams hall after a minute past 8 certainly will not sit for the exams. This is to tell us that Cameroon is changing, and like Mr. Dr. Bate said, the week past, that the GC board being part of a certain board in Africa where efficiency, you know, and professionalism is expected to be at its highest level, the GC board also wants to bring out to the people that they have the standard. And when you talk about the standard, we are looking at how candidates should not get involved into other malpractices.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Nji. For that, Dr. Bate will just kick the ball rolling while Madam Kindness put those things together. GC 2025, 1 week into the exams. Appraisal, what appraisal? That's what we're looking at. You know, after 7 days, the students or candidates, things might have gone somehow. The invigilators, the superintendents, the principals, all these persons put together, even the parents, of course, drivers. I'm sure we will have brought maybe one of the drivers on board, you know, to tell us the challenges that maybe they face, as maybe arrangements are made with some parents to ensure that their candidates are maybe taken to school as early as 5:30 or 6 a.m. to be in school before time, and maybe with the traffic and then some other kind of things. I'm sure maybe with their contributions, we'll be expecting all those things to put together to see how we can evaluate or maybe appraise this 1 week so far. or on your own part, how will you assess the overall organization and the coordination of the GC 2025 examinations so far? You know, from the first day, that was the 3rd, right up to today, the 8th.
Well, Father,
or 9th, sorry. Yeah.
I wish to use this opportunity to congratulate the management team of the GCE board for the excellent job they have done this year. Excellent job because the innovation introduced this year of not allowing candidates into the examination hall 1 minute after the stated time, which is 8 a.m. for the morning session papers and 1 p.m. for the afternoon session, has helped candidates. And I want to say that this same platform, we talked a lot on this issue and the audience were sensitized, and I don't think as of now I have heard any scandal about a candidate coming later than when they are supposed to be checked in. I also want to use this opportunity to congratulate the chief of centers, the invigilators, for the job they are doing, because so far so good. All the various stakeholders have been up to task, and we just pray that this delicate exercise should move on smoothly right to the end, which is the 22nd or 21st or 22nd of this month, because of the Feast of the Tabaski.
Yeah.
Now, that notwithstanding, we want to think that in any rule there is an exception. I'll look at the logistics. The papers were transported to the various centers on time. As of now, I can swear to the last drop of my blood, I've not heard any rumor around, and the rampant social media nonsense that we used to see, that questions are circulating on social media, it's not there this year. That's why I say I congratulate the management team, the transition management team, for being so vigilant. Again, that shows that the leader, the coach of that team, is somebody with integrity, and with that he can infuse that integrity with his collaborators. You don't tolerate nonsense when it comes to exams. Secondly, the quality of the questions, the printing, in terms of logistics, are good. The next thing I want to see so far is that many of the candidates come back home. Those who have relied on the so-called specos come back home crying because they did not prepare very well. Those who prepared found the exam was within reach. Another challenging fact so far so good that I've noticed is that in some centers, some candidates faced a problem. Definitely the candidates were not regular students. Definitely the candidates were not properly taught. Definitely the candidates, or the where they were preparing them for these exams, they couldn't finish the prescribed syllabus put in place by the examining body. Father, I would like to also say that for this past 1 week, I realized something. I have come across this expression from some of the candidates that some invigilators are not living up to the task. I don't want to say they are lenient, because I'm not there or I wasn't there, but they are not living up to task because while in a taxi, I don't want to specify the town, but while in a taxi, a candidate was lamenting that his friend does not even master the timetable, the individual timetable. He doesn't know the subject they're writing the next day. Again, he was lamenting that as if that was not enough, that the friend is using a phone in the examination hall. That if the friend brings that phone again and is using it, if they are sitting in the same serial arrangement, then he's going to report it up. Then I begin to ask, I question myself, not get into the discussion, but I question myself, how did the invigilator check the candidate into the exam hall. There is a problem there. So we are begging, we are pleading. This exam, I keep saying it anywhere, anytime, that our senior brothers, our forefathers, fought for this exam, fought for this board, fought for the integrity of that Anglophone exam, and so let us not rubbish it. Everybody involved in this exam, please know that the Anglo-Saxon culture and exam is integrity.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Bate. We are just looking at how will you assess the overall organization and coordination of the GC 2025 examination. So far, he has said some other things too, which that was his own point of view. We have Mr. G, we're considering logistic, timing, availability of materials, etc., etc. What do you have to say about that too?
Well, so far, I would say that as a parent who is actively involved, if it's in terms of the logistics, I think I've brought my sons to school or to the center where he's sitting in for the exams for a couple of days now, and so far I've not had any situation that has to do with some delay. Personally, he hasn't told me of any at home. This would imply that as concerning the logistics, everything is put in place. With regards to the aspect of the check-in, he has equally told me at home that some students, he fears that these students are likely going to be banned for this year or suspended, because he says why in the exam hall the invigilator in their hall was able to trace and identify students who had phones on them. This will tell you that there are still some students who cannot indeed make it without some external aids that comes to serve as a law, or that acts ultra-virus to the law that GCA board has in place as concerning the exams, to maintain and to keep standard. So it is rather unfortunate. I think it is also happening the way it is because most of the candidates who are caught in this web of examination malpractice, or those who are highly involved in such attitudes during the exams, I think it should basically be coming from candidates who have refused to study. You know, everyone wants and needs that certificate, but if you look at these candidates, they fail to actually prepare and to indeed provide the right information that the board needs. That is, you come to the exams hall without any pre-prepared materials. And it is happening so because with the advent of artificial intelligence, especially that which is coming from the famous WhatsApp, which is not Chat GPT, a good number of the candidates believe that it will easily interpret the questions for them. And this is equally on a rise because the examination board, as opposed to previous years, now understands that candidates as of last year, most of them were late. Some came 5 minutes, 2 minutes to the 30-minute rule that was there. And this is because during such period, they were waiting for that unscrupulous fellows who always send questions to learners or to candidates to know exactly what the exams is, it's all about. But I think that for this year, if it's in terms of the logistics, it is not there. If it's in terms of the check-in, for the fact that we still have phones, we don't know if the people who are at the point of checking, because the invigilator is not the one checking.
Yeah.
If you observe, the invigilators are not the ones checking. If you go to schools that have gates, for example, the people at the gate are the ones that will ask you to check. But in principle, the checking before you move into your exams hall, that is now being done by people hired by the board, that involves some of the invigilators. I think it suffices that it should be thorough. For whatever reason, it is not thorough, because There are candidates who necessarily do not smuggle these things because they had to hide them in their undies. Some have it in their pockets, and some of the very fat, or maybe the jackets they put on, or maybe the design of the trousers they carry about, it is easier for you to smuggle these things because they now smuggle them into the exam. So, but I think that the checking should be due. It should be thoroughly done. That is, a male goes for male and a female goes for female. If the check is conducted in this manner, where it is thoroughly done without any rush, because another reason why we could have this is maybe during that particular period there is the rush, with the candidate. And I think based on GC Board's report, we have an increase of candidates as opposed to last year, which will mean that we have more of this. And like Dr. Bate said, the week that passed, we have a certain number of students per invigilator. It should be 40 students per invigilator. That is the ratio, if I got it right. Now, if you go by that ratio, you realize that there are people who are likely to check you and send you into another hall, why they will have to move to another hall because we have more students who are sitting for the exam. For example, if we are saying that this is hall A, B, C to Z, now there is that possibility that you are checked and they assume that you have gone into your exams hall, whereas maybe at the level of that checking, the personnel who are conducting the checking are not enough, and there are people who feel like they must not, feel the candidate. There are people who find it quite uncomfortable to feel the candidate, maybe to look at what is actually in your pocket or maybe what you carry on you. But I think that the aspect of phones into the exams hall is still much rampant. It is rising every day nationwide. A student is caught with a phone. So there is a problem. This is the second week, and if we are within the second week and we have this, then there is a problem.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. G. I was just looking at if there have been reported irregularities, like we've just said, and my practice cases or logistical issues in any of the centers. How have these things been handled? Because this is the second week, today is Monday. How have these things been handled? Because we have our principals there, we have superintendents, we have invigilators also, and some top ranking persons as far as education is concerned, who time and again they move to some of these centers, which are a huge number of candidates, to see how things are unfolding. Is it as if that maybe these things are being hidden from them, or maybe how do they arrange this? Because this is the second week and it's uncalled for that 1 week is gone and the second week and we still see issues like this. So how have this been, maybe this kind of situations been handled?
Well, for that, every year these things do happen. We should acknowledge this. They happen year in, year out.
Yeah.
And the center authorities, we should a little bit elaborate on that. Once an exam, that's why they call it an exam session. This year, this exam is called the June 2025 session. Each center has center authorities. We have the highest authority of the center is the superintendent. In very large centers, there could be 3, 4, and even 5 or more, depending on the number of candidates. And the examining body has made it very clear and have made sure they have taken necessary dispositions to ensure that all these candidates are tied to a certain number of each superintendent, I beg your pardon, is tied to a certain number of candidates. Now, when such an act is noticed and it is alarming, there is a guiding rule. They give you, there's a rules and regulation given to the center supervisors. That is the superintendent, the chief of centers, and the invigilator. It spells out the function of every person involved in that particular exam.
Yeah.
So when a candidate is caught with pre-prepared material, the board has the sanction. They instruct the center supervisors on what to do, which I think most often than not, the center supervisors always act per that regulation.
Yeah.
They always do that. And so it's not like the board is just taking it for granted. No. Candidates are also informed. Some centers take the pain to tell the candidate that when you commit this crime, this is a penalty. This crime, this is a penalty. Sometimes this young generation, this our brothers and sisters, our children, are very daring. They want to try and see what will happen. And so, unfortunately for some of them, they go and try and they are caught. Because the law says, what I know very well is that when you are caught with a phone, they check the phone, and the phone is actually, if it was actually on AI and they saw the material relating, they confiscate the phone, you make a report, and you forward that report to the GCE board. It is a board that has a final decision. The center supervisors, the center authorities don't have any decision on that particular candidate. So that one should be clearly defined. So it's not like the candidate don't know that these things are there. They know. They hear that they have banned people for 3 years, 1 year, and so on and so forth. They still do it. So what are we doing? To me, I think that we should intensify, because the examining body has done another thing, that merging some centers to particular accommodation centers.
Yeah.
Now, what I think each year they keep improving, that one we should acknowledge. Each year, when they get, that's why they insist that at the end of each session, send us your report. They read those reports, see the challenges, see the ones that immediately they can correct, and they implement. So I think that what they should intensify more is as they are gradually introducing the CCTV cameras in those accommodation centers, the CCTV cameras, even the ones, because many people say, oh, without light it will not work, with the epileptic nature of current. We should go, they should instruct those centers, those large accommodation centers, to make available solar energy, so that those cameras will still work, and we can get those things and correct the student. You know, it's a gradual process. Last year, the number of candidates who were sanctioned, and even centers, you know, sometimes we have been listening that they can sanction a whole center. They can sanction a whole center. Results, sometimes we hear result withheld until the board is satisfied with all. The board does not rush. They don't rush. All the facts are glaring and the center is guilty. That's when they give the final decision. And so people should understand this. So it's not like the board is playing. No. In any situation, where you have human beings, there are always some people who want to puncture the rule. Right. And so you will not know that somebody is coming to invalidate a puncture. Some even come, if you are not very careful, some can even deceive you, the chief of center, or you, the superintendent, because you are not there, you are not working with them in that center or in that school that is hosting, to know that this person is teaching mathematics. But the superintendent always advise that, please, if you are teaching a subject, indicate that they don't send you into a room which is your subject going on. All that the examining body takes into consideration and tell people. But I will still say it here that some of us are too mean. Like you talk about, they check a candidate and then the person leave the hall. Some people come, they are fighting to go to particular hall because they have made their small arrangement in the quarter with small girls, even small boys, or whatever. But if you are caught, I tell you the truth, you will smell the rot of the board. It's just that many people don't know this. You can be mingling with the exam, but when you do anything stupid, the board will nail you well. It is easy to go and say you want to work, but when you commit a crime, they don't know you, man.
What traces
and traces good. For example, if you are guilty and you are an examiner, immediately they drop you, because they are fighting to maintain the integrity of the exam and the quality of the certificate that our candidates who will succeed can brandish elsewhere. I think the board is doing that at its own level.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm sure, Mr. Nji, I have a little difficulty talking of some of the irregularities already so far for the past 1 week, and how small or how big is the phone with the invigilators and maybe the we have the gate people, the security people before these candidates they get into the classrooms, and these things are still maybe get into some of the classrooms.
Yes, it's I'll take it from where Dr. Bate stopped,
Yeah.
or rather cue in. He said something that there are people who are mean. We have this category of people everywhere.
Yeah.
There are people who have refused that to uphold dignity, integrity, professionalism, the rule of law. They think these things are rather not what they should be associated with or identified with. It's all about the life on the fast lane. There are students, with the advent of the students who now uses the smartphones to make whooping amount of money, yet they need the certificate. It should be recalled that there are students who need that certificate. However, they have some online businesses they do. It may surprise you that you have secondary school students who have forged their identity and they are into some online business that they make a lot of money from it, and they will do anything. I'll go back to last year. A center was alleged that a student or a candidate attempted to corrupt one of the invigilators with a colossal amount. Would you imagine that a student had mentioned, I'll give you 500,000 francs CFA? You see students who are using iPhone Pro Max 16, 15, 14, and they bring it to an exam hall. The phone itself is about $1 million or thereabout or plus. Now, what does that tell you? These are people who understands the worth of the certificate, but do not have the patience to study, and they want it at all costs. So the question on how is it possible that with the invigilators, the security personnel within the campuses of these exams, especially those who are carry out search to ascertain that you are walking into the exams hall void of any material that will serve as an aid and to put others at the losing position, because it is no longer competitive. It is not longer, we are no longer on the same platform. But you still find students who will still move into exams halls with their phones. I think there is a possibility that there are people who have dumped their dignity and their respect, and they will either care less about the search, or they will also comply. After all, a student can tell them that it is possible, that don't bother. All you need to do is your own part.
Yeah.
I'll know how to manage it when the invigilator comes. Because the first person who ought to ascertain that you do not carry any other material other than your pen and ruler where it is required, pen, pencil, ruler where it is required, or the writing material, which is basically what? If a student were to write a subject like economics, for example, let's say you are going in for economics paper 2, you do not need, for ordinary level, for example, you do not need anything other than your pen and your personal timetable or your individual timetable. Other than these things, you do not need any other thing for the exams. So any other thing found on you, including cash, because sometimes the pretext is, okay, I'll have to or have it is for my for my food money or things
Since
like that.
I have to write morning and the afternoon session, I won't
Great,
go back
but
to the
I'll
house.
tell you that there are students who bring more than 100,000 francs for the exams, and with what is now happening, you could be flash. Like what they always say, or flashing, they go for. A student can flash you. They can remove a certain 510 and flash technically, because we now have very young people who are invigilating the exams.
Yeah.
And most of these young people, they have equally lost their dignity and respect, because they have surrendered their dignity and respect to very minimal things, trivial things that takes away your dignity and respect, and you rubbish yourself and your career. So we have these cases, they are happening. So as concerning how possible that these things would enter the exam hall. These are some of the possible reasons. Or you also have the aspect of neglect. There are people who think that, but is it my father's exam, or what is there? There are invigilators who will make such statements. Master, leave the picking the master. Even if you control them, they no give you the marks. The invigilators will make such statements. No, but you go take the marks at the end of the day. So you see that they themselves, they allow these things because they think that leave the picking the master. I mean, they go right the way they ride. They need the team. Good. These are the statements. Thank you, doctor.
Yes.
Good. These are the statements. And when such statements are made, you find these things, they'll happen the way we see them.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. G. We just remind kindness that we have something immediately that Dr. Bate finish. Kindness will go over to that video.
To say is that I still go back to equal to continue to congratulate the board.
Yeah.
Because sometimes these things were happening, we thought that because the stipend for keeping you for 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours was small.
Yeah.
And many years invigilators kept crying.
Yeah.
And I think as of last year, the board took it to an authority, because the board does not have the final decision when it comes to the financial part of their work.
Yeah.
So I'm sure the board took it now to the supervisory authority, which is the ministry, and the ministry now took it to the Ministry of Finance, whatever, and the invigilation stipend was increased, and people can at least appreciate and work with conscience. But no matter how much you give somebody, that people will still be funny. In this case now, to avoid these phones, there's human rights all over the place, violation of human rights all over the place. What I think most accommodation centers can do is to use these sensor detectors. Yeah. So that immediately, even the phone is off, because the children can come out and put it off. Once you have it on you, they use a sensor, it will indicate, and they can take it out. If you use a human hand, not to keep pressing my buttocks, now wait, I know nothing. All those things happen, and the invigilator now, there's a lot of risk in this exam that we are controlling. Yeah. The center authorities are in risk. Invigilators are at risk. This one we should acknowledge. So you are thinking that maybe if I want to overstreet, they will wait for me in the quarter.
You could be trapped in the quarter.
Father, I will give you a testimony that I was in a center in Douala.
Yeah.
When I was superintendent, I was very hard. 1 year after the GCE, a particular candidate identified me here in Boya and said that wicked superintendent I feel broke here bottle. I was like, I looked up. He was standing at his city. I was walking in the quarters in Boya. Yeah, you can imagine that I worked in Douala. That's why I supervised. But I came and the candidate surely passed, and it's in the university
after several years.
Yes, and then later on now, I called him. I gathered courage. I called him. We sat somewhere in a bar. I was exchanged beer, and I told him, I said this thing like that. I was following the law. If you were not following the law as a candidate, then the law will catch you. Say, but that thing don't pass. I throw a joke. That thing don't pass. But take beer, more drink, I forgot about that thing. I know be wicked man. I be following the law. Law say we may work now, so we work. There are certain times that to tell you that invigilators or center supervisors may also be at risk. There are some of the center supervisors or invigilators who are invigilating candidates and the superintendent. Most superintendents will not wear heel shoes to make noise because they can trap the sound of their shoe. But the superintendent can't adjust. They even tell the candidate, please sit where. All those things we know them. There are things that happen. But now we are always saying that if you are grown in a particular culture, you will want to keep that culture. I cannot claim, not one day, to move in the culture of a Mokwe man or a Ngemba man, but I will move in the culture of a typical Manu man. And so that's what we are appealing here. That this exam is so precious to us. It's very precious to us. we inherited from our forefathers in the days of London GCE. I remember as a primary school boy, when I hear people writing GCE like they were demigods. To see a paper, first of all, we were using white paper in the primary school, and then you see your senior brother or your senior friend in the quarter holding a yellow paper. It was like he was in a different world. And so with this culture, which we copied from London, we are struggling to improve. And I was to tell you that the improvements and the strictness and the firmness and the low noise of GC don't leak this year, it stands to the head of the team. I want to make it very clear. Whether you tell me or you don't tell me, I can judge from that, because she is a product from UK. She's a Commonwealth alumni, and you cannot pass through UK and you come here formally. I give kudos to her. I will not call her name. I give kudos to the leader of that team to make sure that, because it is the examiner is taking shape. We used to hear GC don't leak it, but we have not heard it for 1 week, Father. That's kudos to the team. Yeah. That's kudos to the team. We should say it.
And it often leaked.
So it means that
at the
first week, the team is doing great work. Yeah. The team is doing great work. We have not heard anywhere.
And so the invigilators and the superintendents and principals also back there, the field itself, they should do their own work. Should continue that same gesture.
Just being very hard and firm. And I think that this exam is very easy. That's why the board follows the stages. All the stages of examination, the board follows. And so when the people go and moderate, they are not moderating questions from sky or from space. They're not moderating questions from the troposphere. They are moderating questions that they are from topics that the board has given a guideline that teach these children this topic. This is what we are going to use to evaluate the candidate. And most often, the other challenge I want to say as a technician of the field is that the other challenge that teachers in the field are caught up between finishing national syllabus and examination syllabus. And some don't even have the national syllabus, some don't even have the examination syllabus, some go by that. So please, all these things, we are just trying to see how we next year will be better. Some of the challenges that the candidates face is caused by how they were trained. Some were not prepared. The teachers, majority of the teachers do their job, but most of the candidates who don't study. And so I think that it will always be pushed to this point. And as we are moving closer every day, improvement are being taken for this exam. Improvement.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Bate. Madam Kindness, can we have that so that we put our heads together with our viewers? Of course, we remind ourselves that our contributions are expected, the silent viewers, so that we could put things together to help our candidates, to help the superintendents, the invigilators, the principals of the various centers who could help them. It has not been easy, but we'll do our best to help this person. So, Kindness, can we have that? Can we have that, Kindness?
This morning in Government Bilingual High School, today, as you can see for yourself, the campus is really quiet. And this year, students are not allowed into the hall after 8 p.m. and that was well respected, so everything is going on fine. For BAPC, we have 578 candidates with 6 that are absent, and for ordinary and A-level, we have a total of 2,240 candidates. Security measure, we have the people from the commissariat who are here, and we also have the gendarmes who are also here, and we have our local security people who are here to help us with security.
I'm also a candidate. I was writing chemistry paper 1. So what I was writing this morning is that actually came when I was writing today, and I'm very happy for that.
I'm very sure that I'm going to pass history paper 1 for everything that I read came. What I read almost came, so I'm proud of what I wrote and I'm sure of my answer. At the beginning, it was not really easy, but I prayed and everything was just okay.
Les enfants, ils connaissent que l'examen, cette année, on a dit que l'examen doit commencer à 8 heures. Et on nous a donné les instructions qu'aucun enfant n'entre pas après 8 heures. Mais ils ont venu à 8h30. Ça veut dire que c'est les enfants qui dehors, ils pensent qu'ils vont voir les lots, comme on appelle ça. Bon, c'est pour ça qu'ils ont resté dehors. Même pas 15 minutes, 30 minutes après. Même moi, j'habite loin, mais 4 heures le matin, je suis déjà debout. Les autres qui habitent loin étaient déjà là. O levels, arts, ils ont commencé avec history. advanced level history et chemistry pour sciences. Paper 1, tous les matins c'est paper 1. C'est calme, très très calme. Sauf les enfants là qui nous ont un peu dérangés là. Et l'atmosphère est très calme, très bien. Ils ont 3-4 matières pour, même 5. Ce n'est pas comme au système francophone qu'on prend, c'est les moyens qu'on prend. Ici, c'est les matières. C'est pas matière. Et s'il compose bien, il va réussir.
Very much, Madam Kindness. I'm sure, Dr. Bate, you saw that Mr. Nji and Panji Ngalamen. That was an example of what has happened so far for the past 1 week. See, some students still have the guts, to come after in 30 minutes after. Like she was saying, I'm sure they're expecting that maybe kind of speckle or something could come, and then they get it before getting to the halls, or maybe they were testing the spirit. There was one of those seminarians back then, Bamboo, some years back, and he said he was testing the spirit, and it was not well with him. The rector did not take it lightly. They were testing the spirit. I'm sure some of them were also testing the spirit, which was not a good case. I don't know what you have to say about what we've just watched there from I'm sure the principal and the students themselves, and the others who have been working closely with the students or the candidates back there in school.
Well, Father, the board always advised that we get security, state security, and most often because everybody is involved in this exam. Once the governor is involved, he will go around to give his own report to the administration. Some years when I was superintendent, I would give the report every day to the commissioner. He gave me his number. I was calling him every day to tell him what is happening. Yes, the security is there. And so they say you can also get local security. They'll dispatch security people from the police and sometimes gendarmes. There are about 4, 5, 6 on campus around, so that there are these recalcitrant candidates who want to fight with invigilators. That's where they come in. That's when those people come in. And the center security, which is provided by the chief of center to make sure that the candidate write well. Now, what we just saw in the Vox Pop, you see those candidates are always play those tricks. They play around to make sure that they can stay around, and maybe one of their friends, after seeing the question, will tell them, okay, I want to go and ease myself. By going out to ease myself, you can say, "Bona, they want don't can." Then you go now and then just tear the paper from the book, put it in the pocket, and then come in claiming to be hearing. No, but you see, those candidates already missed that paper, and that's all. The exam keep changing. The innovations are coming, and like I keep saying, and like my father here will testify, we have fought for this thing. We should keep it, jealously keep it. That's the only thing we in the Anglo-Saxon culture have, that we should jealously keep it. And so anybody who is part of this exam and you don't want to keep this thing, they will keep you out. The board does not play with that one. The candidate will always play those tricks. And that rule, like I said, the innovation of that, 1 minute after the starting time you don't write is very good. And subsequently, when they'll evaluate at the end of the exam, they'll evaluate it and see how effective it was, and they'll keep bringing new ones. I think that it has helped. None of us, in this city of where I'm not seeing kind of work running head task, that they leave 1 hour before time, and they rush in the morning. If you stand at the road every morning, I come and stand at the road just to observe. That's my own way of nation building. I come and observe to see. You find many of them running to get a taxi, maybe 6:30. They make sure that they are running to their center, and I'm sure that those who are staying very far or writing in very far off centers go on time, and no major incident has been reported in our city, in the municipality of.
Yeah, thank you very much, Doctor. But I think maybe this is an opportunity to say thank you to the drivers, the taxi drivers in Boya. I'm sure what we did last week, we talked with I'm sure the syndicate, those in charge, the president must have done something working with the drivers to be there, because early morning, we're going for morning mass, you could see them down there in my 15, my 16. And you see them, their priority is more of the students. I want to say thank you to all the taxi drivers out there. We have this week, I'm sure the other week, God to continue to bless them. Priority should be the candidates. Please make sure you carry them early enough. They're there by 6 o'clock, they're by the roadside.
Yes, they're acting like traffic police on major junctions to make sure that traffic flows, and they ensure, I'm sure, one of the president told me that they have instructed drivers in their meeting and their fora that they should make sure they give priority very early in the morning to students.
Okay.
And so sometimes you're even breaking a taxi, they'll not take you, but they'll come and take a student. Even this afternoon before I left, I saw a student was to take a taxi with me. The driver told me now, "I'll leave Mama carry the Peking." So that shows that
that's a good one.
They are collaborating. Those two are making sure that the exam move hitch free. Everybody, the candidate go to the center on time.
Yeah.
You know, like we had last week where we talked and we appealed to their consciences that they should cooperate. When we left, I called a couple of the syndicate president and I spoke with them. This morning, with the nature of the environment and where my son sits for the exam, I took it upon myself to bring him to his center. If I had not mentioned to the driver that I am bringing him to his center, the driver wouldn't have maybe, carried me in the car, because he said he was rather carrying only those who are going to write the exams.
Okay.
Then I explained to him that no, I want to bring my son, and they said, okay, so you can move. So I think they are equally playing their part, like Dr. Bate said. It is their own part in building the nation, which is good, which is indeed very good. I think as concerning the GCE for this year, honestly, the innovations even in the taxi driver sector is worth applauding.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm sure. Alfonso, what do you have to say about watching the video? And the one we gone already with the GC, you have candidates in your neighborhood and maybe your friends or children and so on. You see them coming back, they're telling stories and the rest. What do you have to tell the viewers about that?
Father, thanks very much for this opportunity. It's quite. First of all, I want to apologize
it's
for
okay.
coming so that you see the commitments always come up at the nick of time. I think. Before I make a remark on that, I just want to, there's a friend of mine, we're working at the CRTV as at Nalabra, that's National Language Broadcasters.
Yeah.
So he told me that the son missed English language. I said, but what happened? He said the son said the English language did not appear on his timetable. I said, but there's something we do as administrators, even the GC board insists on it. That immediately you have your timetable, look at the subjects you have registered. Now, if one of the subjects is not there, signal. And if there's proof that you registered for that particular subject, I think you'll be allowed to write. Yeah. But the young man just stayed at home. That I don't have any paper today, despite the English language was taking place. So he has already missed that. And now he has already missed that paper, which according to the father, he was counting it at one of his papers. Yes. So I think we parents too should be...
Involves everyone.
Yeah, we must be so proactive. And the students too. All the candidates now like this, they have to be so proactive. You get your timetable, check the number of subjects you registered. If one of the subjects is not, one of the papers is not there, signal, and that will be taken into consideration. Now, concerning the, I think so far, so good, although I've not got feedback as much.
Yeah.
But at least I think everything has been moving as planned.
Yeah.
And I think we should give some sort of a red feather to the minister for taking such instructions and letting the stakeholders respect the instructions of coming in 1 hour before time. And I see it. The students, the candidates in my quarter, by 6 o'clock, they're already out on the road. Those that are trekking, they are trekking. Those that are to take taxis, they are taking taxis. So I think that collaboration is so good for now.
Yeah, thank you very much. And then we have this, Dr. Bate. How well prepared do you think the candidates were for this year's examination? Judging from the first week performance and behavior, you could see from the video, some few boys and I'm sure girls after 30 minutes, how prepared. What do you tell the viewers as far as that, linking that with the video we just saw? What do you think about that?
In the preparation of exam, the first thing is proper teaching. Cover your syllabus. That's what the school administrators always emphasize.
Yeah.
And within the course of the academic calendar, the ministry, through the regional delegations, will dispatch regional inspectors to go down and check if actually work is done. And the minister came up this academic year with a new strategy that every month there should be a Google form filled by every teacher of what you have covered, so that Yaoundé can act, because sometimes reports can leave the feed that syllabus coverage 80%, and at the end of the academic year when results are released, it doesn't reflect, because when you prepare well, you should pass well. Yeah. So she came with that innovation that every month they feed a Google form of syllabus coverage. The second thing that the students need to prepare well is that they are taught by teachers. Some of us, it's true that you cannot be there around 100% teaching, but if you are not there, I know that most school administrators will ask you, even if you are going on permission, that as you are going like this I hope you don't have a class for this period that you are staying out of school, and if you have a class, how do you intend to cover up? And they ask you if you have left work, and I'm sure that most people do that. The students nowadays don't want to work. They believe on speco, the so-called speco. They speculate, and there are subjects where you cannot speculate anymore. There are subjects that the structure of the exam has been modified in such a way that speculation does not really count. So those who have covered 80 to 90% of their material studying are the ones who will be testifying that they went to the exam, they saw that everything was just cheap because they have prepared well. Even the one who, I'm sure the one who was saying that what I read almost came. I'm sure she wanted to
say all what I prepared came.
Yeah, that's what she wanted to say.
The tension with the camera, the fight of the camera might have pushed her.
You can imagine.
Almost came.
It almost came. So the joy too is that most of the kind that are saying that, well, those that I've talked to, they say they thought the exam would be difficult. That they are praying that they should mark it well. That's the next day for those who are the papers are already. You cannot go back there now and change it. It has been sealed. You don't even know where your paper has gone to. And if you notice, those who know the means of transporting those work scripts, you see they are on alert every day. At the end of every day, they are taking the papers to where they are supposed to go and keep them and prepare them for marking. So I think that those who have prepared well, because it's often said that proper planning prevents poor result. And so those who have studied well, hard, and who are still studying for the remaining papers will obviously go to the exam. They will not find anything different. It's like a normal test. And then, morally speaking, the teachers always and the school administrators always talk to them. Their parents talk to them. This thing is like a normal test you are going to write. I've just given a new name, GCE. It's your normal test. You're going to write a biology test. You're going to write a physics test. You're going to write a geology test, and so on and so forth. So that confidence, because the fright is another thing that kills most of them. And this time around, I've not heard that a candidate has been carried to the hospital because of tension. I think so far so good, like Pangalame said, everything is under control. And we pray, as this week to have started, till the last week, let everything just move smoothly like this.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm sure, Doctor, what do you have to say about that also concerning this, preparedness of the students so far, or the candidates so far as this 1 week, judging from the week's performance and their behavior, despite the lapses, at least from the video, it's just one or two, but then there is that, from infos that we have, and from other medias, we could get that many of the candidates are doing well. You know, the parents could testify, the drivers, everybody sends on deck. So what do you have to say about that? Maybe still up time in terms of performance and behavior this 1 week, and this is the second week already.
Yeah, I think it's coming on the heels of the cooperation between the community and the candidate. Now, we have to admit one thing, especially for those of us in the two English-speaking regions, that most communities where you have children going to school know how important it is. Most families have lost a lot within the last 8 years counting, within the context of the crisis. So families are so excited seeing their children, their brothers, and the communities. Previously, of course, you know how hard it was to imagine that We had a certain level of circulation of taxis this morning. I think including the non-state armed groups, they know the importance of education right now. Some of them have faced it. Some of them know exactly what it is. So I think the candidate themselves, they have also, you know, a good number of them have also decided. If I should go by the number of cases so far that I've handled, if I were to go by Habit, because we equally have a center where children come to read for the exams. And sometimes in a single night, we can have up to 50 children who come, or learners or candidates who come to read for the exams. And I always go there and I will tell them that this is all about your future. No name is going to be on that certificate. When you pick up that certificate, it has your name, not your father's name, not your mom's name, not the community. So the attitude you would take towards the exam is going to be for your goal. I think this is where most of the candidates now see the reality, because no matter what we say, no matter the crime wave that is increasing, I'll tell you that most children want to go to school. Most of them want the certificate. Most of them want to live it. Most of them want to see it, unlike before. So they themselves are highly motivated. There is that intrinsic motivation that, you know, we had prior to 2016, and it's increasing, which I want to believe that if we build this quite positively, it will work. Another thing is, which is very important for those who probably will not understand, I tell you, kudos once more to the transition team of the GC board. For this reason, you know, the decision of 1 minute after 8 you are late is something wonderful. Now, I hired a taxi this morning because the rains that fell this morning was very difficult for one to walk at that early hour. I think I got to the center, I think about 15 minutes before 8. Thank God we were within the check-in period. Now, why? This is because I understood that a minute after that, my son would not sit for that exam. So I could not even take the risk, and I was willing to pay any amount that the car that will bring me to that particular center. And it also built the learners, you know, morale. Then when I got to the center, interestingly meeting the principal, she too was like, so many parents are bringing their kiddo. It's like parents are indeed, you know. Then I told her, I said, ma'am, I think it is happening so because we understand how hard it is. So the learners themselves, they see the efforts of their parents. And most of those who are now going to school, there are people who have sat in the house for several years, and the stories they were told, others went to school and got it. So they cannot afford to have this year again thrown somewhere where they'll be unable to account for it. So that euphoria is coming from the community, the home, the teachers themselves, the learner. So if we continue with this, I think it's going to go a long way in making the exams better and better.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. G, for that contribution. Pam Galamin, what feedback are you receiving from supervisors, invigilators, or examiners regarding the conduct and seriousness of the students? Maybe you have one or two. Maybe you've gotten that from the social media or some friends, you know, apart from the one of your friends, your friend's son who missed English. We say sorry for that, and it's an indication that parents need to put their hands on deck. They need to support their children or the candidates. Better still, they could photocopy the timetable, they keep it, you know. Mr. G, I'm sure when we're small also, maybe even in various dormitories, you have the timetable in your room, you put it by the wall, right. You know, it kind of a reminder. You're sleeping, you remind yourself before you go to bed. You look at, like Dr. Bate said the last time, The parents could have that in their bedroom also, maybe, placed somewhere there. I'm sure if that were done, our friend's son wouldn't have missed the English.
Otherwise, to be honest, before I kept that of my son. I had a copy of it.
Yeah.
He had a copy. I had a copy of it.
So you worked together?
No, we worked together.
Yeah.
I remember the first person he asked was, "Daddy, where is my personal IT?" Yeah. That was his question. Then I said, "Hey boy, where is yours?" To also let him know that no, you are equally yes, you are responsible to keep yours. Then he said, "No, yours. Let me have yours." When I pulled out mine, then he recalled where he too had kept his. So it is important.
Yeah, as I was saying, so Panjikan, what can you tell us? Maybe kind of feedback here. You've not had any so far.
Well, Father, so far.
Apart of your friends.
My friends.
What about you? Don't you have persons or maybe supervisors or maybe Dr. Bati or Mr. G? You have friends who are supervisors, invigilators, or examiners regarding the conduct and seriousness of the students. Maybe you've talked to one of them, or maybe you got to, Dr. Bati. Do you have something?
I think that so far so good. The feedback is positive.
Yeah.
Some like we already mentioned that. Those who have prepared well don't have any problem. Anyway, you put in the right. And 2 or 3 months before the start of this exam, most centers, most schools talk to the students that the pass mark is 50. Yeah. And many of them were awakened from their slumber. And I'm very sure that it helped them to intensify because the teachers kept repeating and repeating and repeating. As concerns what Pa shared about his friend's son, this year there is, I'm sure in the other years too it was like that. There's what the board introduced here, pre-registration. They give you the form, you tick the subject, you go home, make sure you have ticked the subject, the parents cross-check, and then you come now in the machine of your school, you cross-check before you go now and do the payment. I'm sure that did not take place. It is also part of negligence, I want to say, because there is, as a teacher, I realize that there are some parents who fall in this category. I have paid the fees, that's my own thing I have to do. Let him do his own. I go follow you all time, he go be man picking and when. But I want to say that even my son who is in a boarding school, every day there's a teacher I talk with to make sure that he doesn't remain in the dormitory. He's in a boarding school. But I make sure that I talk to the teacher. Please make sure you check this man. And each day when you finish, I say, where is your time? We are keeping it. I have my own today, I'm following. You are writing this one tomorrow. And I say, yes, that. Okay, fine. Go and prepare. That is follow up. We parents should get up. Don't say I've done my own part. You keep doing it until, even when he's in his own house,
of course,
you will still do it.
Yeah.
You will still do it.
I always
so let us not neglect them.
Process. It's not an event.
It is also helping them to know that you are with them.
Of course.
Sometimes just talking to them, how did you write today, is important. But these students who are like that, they see what we do. They'll come and say, well, at every time my partner, if you ask me, nothing. That's what some of them say. My partner, I'm not nothing. But every ask you, they tell me nothing.
How was it today?
He's not motivated.
That's it.
But there are other parents too who are motivating their children. They say, okay, if you pass this exam, you have 10 papers, 10 A grades, I'll give you a phone.
Yeah.
They just quote example, or they provide there's this extrinsic motivation that the candidate has also built and making them to work extremely hard to make sure that they pass their exam. And so we keep singing a song that every stakeholder should come on board and help them. It's not late. The young man should not feel by he might miss English and pass the other ones. He should keep aside that page and gather steam and then know that the other subject he's going to take them now very serious. Because if he check that, they send a form to check name, spelling of names, date of birth. Like most candidates don't do that. If he had shown the father that IT and the father sees that, hey boy, you are doing this subject, I've not seen it yet. Some parents don't even know the subject of their students. They don't know. You ask, what's that boy doing again? I find no myself. You can tell me someone at 25,000, no, I not just give them money there. the end of the day,
parents need to be involved.
You are involved in all the processes.
We are not like downplaying the role of some of the parents who never had the opportunity to go to school. Most of them never had the opportunity to see the four walls of the classroom. But then they are doing this because they don't want the mistakes that maybe was done, or maybe the possibilities that were not there in their own days. They want to correct those things. That's why they send you. So you could equally help them. You know,
we have to be deliberate.
Yeah.
I don't think you should be passive as concerning. See, please, let's face the fact. We are talking about someone who is going to continue your lineage.
Yeah.
And we are expecting that you build that person till the end. Let me tell us, you have seen families that those who have to take it till the end and pass it to other generations, they do not have age limit. Let me be a bit sarcastic when it comes to this. Did you observe that at 70-something, the present King Charles was being treated as a child by the mom, the queen? That's because she understood that this is the next king, this is the next monarch. And the way I would treat this monarch, it would determine how he is going to go about his life.
Legacy.
It's about legacy. So how do you intend sustaining yours? You probably have no idea as concerning what the child is doing, but you are no longer the island. Maybe you are a CMA member. It's possible.
Yeah.
What do? You ask your group president. Yeah. You ask other people. Say, Masa, ma picking the right to na how they do ame. They will tell you.
Of course.
They will explain to you. Say, no, for me, I am picking the right. Now so I do and so I do, and because you cannot be passive as concerning education of your child. If you are passive, children are quite smart. They are smarter than us as they think, because that is where their level of reasoning ends. In principle, they are shooting themselves in the leg. And so we could actually be accomplices to this if we are passive, in the sense that when it happens, you are the one that they will blame. After all, your fellow CMA members or others, when they will be talking about how successful their children are, you will feel ashamed in your own. So what is best at is that you endeavor to ask questions. If you cannot, you probably have a senior child who had gone to school. Maybe you do not have any. Maybe that particular child is your first child who is sitting for the exams, and you have no idea. But do you think you have to live like an island? No, you have neighbors. So all we are saying is that we should not be passive as concerning the upbringing of our children. I always tell people, some will tell me that in their own style. Since parenting is not an event, it is a process. My own process continues till the day I will see my creator. But I know at what point to halt certain things, because I know parenting at every level has its own requirement. Yeah. So it is important, because if it wasn't for this, relatively very passive attitude, the young man who missed that paper, probably the parents would have had the time. And we also live at a very turbulent economic period, that the economy is relatively in a sham. It's important also. There are some parents who are focusing on how do I feed the family. They are focusing on how do I make other things better. Then before you realize it, the exams is already at hand.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. G. Kindness, the last video, and which will help ourselves to question each other, especially invigilators, superintendents, and the candidates themselves. Can we have that kindness before we call it a day for our program today?
Vas-y.
Seulement, je suis comme ça, depuis de la peine. Un groupe d'élèves m'a suivi en rentrant vers 20h. Ils sont mis à me bastonner correctement. Il faut me casser la bouche. Après, tout le monde dit que ici à l'homme, on fait comme on veut ça. TF a continué de retirer les cartouches, on a un peu composé. La prochaine fois, on va te tuer. Et je me suis même échappé avec eux, avec force. Je suis là couché à l'hôpital de la Pédie.
Thank you very much, Madam Kindness. For a summary of that, it's a secondary school teacher at Lycée Technique, the Loum, Mungo division of the Littoral region, narrowly escaped death after being attacked by a group of students or candidates. According to the victim, the students or candidates physically assaulted him and disfigured his mouth, as you could see from the video, accusing him of being too strict while supervising them during the written phase of the back and the cap exams. And the students who were described as unruly also accused the teacher of confiscating their sheets, cheat sheets in black cartouche, which they had intended to use during the exams. They threatened to kill him if he continued, the teacher added, while recovering in the hospital, in his hospital bed. It remains unclear whether the students or candidates have been identified and arrested. Meanwhile, the teacher is receiving treatment for his injuries at the medical facility in Loum, located in the Mungo division of the Littoral region. That's what we just we saw. Since time is not really a friend, I'm sure. Galamin, what do you have to say? You know, it's Loum. Loum is not far from Boya.
Yeah,
so what do we have to? We have to work on that.
For that, I think it's just that if I were one of the policy maker in this country, I think that's those particular students are supposed to be arrested and they stop writing their exams. But if you look at it, you see when we want to take some type of action, the government say no, let the student do this. So look at if the teacher died. That's why every day we are crying of insurance. Yes, the teachers need an insurance policy for such type of cases. And then action too must be taken. Because if students attack a teacher, the teacher is helpless. But if the government comes in, or whoever is there to protect the teacher and comes in and say, okay, this is what you have done, and you have been caught, the French people say flagrant délit. You have been caught with prepared material. There's nothing you can do about it. So what covers the teachers?
Yeah, thank you very much, Pangalamin. I'm sure Dr. Batu, you have something small about that, and Mr. Nji. Then we put down the curtains of today's edition.
Father, the risks in this exam is very high for teachers.
Yes.
Very, very high. I remember I almost passed through that situation when I was superintendent. I almost passed through it. And I was coming to the center and living in hiding. And what pained me that particular year was that all the evidences I had, I forwarded to an authority of the board. He asked me, what do I want him to do? I told myself, so if I die, then my family would be extinct. And so for me, I don't fancy going to sacrifice my life, because like they say, like we say in the quarter, when they catch you, you are on your own.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. G, and then we call it a day.
No, what is important is I'll cue from what Pa said. The insurance policy is one, security is paramount. How be it, the way invigilators will also go about it, do not personalize it. Remember that to every profession there is the do no harm policy. That is the do no harm unto yourself and unto the next person. So the way you manage it, for example, there are ways you could handle that. Once you identify your environment hostile, I think what you need to do is you can. But a quick one, the board should adopt a system whereby, or the different examination board, they can ferry in to manage. You ferry in others from a different environment when it happens like that to manage that. Someone could leave Boya to come and invigilate maybe in Furawa, so that the learners within that particular area will not remark you and probably trap you. That way it will go a long way in managing this. It is important. Otherwise, we have a relatively very hostile young people. They want to get anything at any cost. They wouldn't care if your life is taken. When you see children who sit and their sex prowess in their exam, in their classroom is relatively higher than those who are acting porn or pornography, what do you expect? The way they reason, they want to get anything they want at all costs. If your life is involved, they don't care. Children sit and they have their phones with them to do very horrible things. Then what can they not do?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. G. We put our hands together and ask those in charge of the exams. The government has been doing her best, and this time around, especially this year, but we know that we still have this week and the other week to put things together. Security should be tightened and maybe bring some other person on board to ensure that what happened in Lum should not happen maybe in Yaoundé or Boya, as the case may be, because these are persons also who are there to do their job to ensure that things go well. I want to thank you, Dr. Bate, for being here. I want to thank you, Parliament, for coming, and Mr. G. And of course, Kindness and those who have been putting things together to ensure that we have the program on air. We thank, of course, the person who is in charge of programming here, Mr. Yanika Dale. Thank you very much, Manager, Madam Joyce Bong, and Sada Solomon Ekundi Lyonga, the Director of Communication, Diocese of Boy, and of course, Bishop Michael Bibi, #1 supporter, and promoter of our TV, DMRO TV. Good night. See you tomorrow. May God bless you all.